have a ton of chipping and flaking paint on my 2002 Honda Odyssey. You can see that it's actually just flaking when I touch it with my fingernail. The problem with this is that if we don't fix it, it'll continue to spread and will cause more rust. In order to fix it, we're going to sand it down and then we're going to prime it and paint it. You need to keep sanding until you reach the point where the paint stops flaking off. I'm going to get pretty aggressive and start with a 220 grit. You're going to want to use this grit, and as you do, you'll notice that other older layers of paint and primer show up. That's completely normal and expected. I'm going to go ahead and sand all the way to the metal. You'll know when you're done sanding because the edges will be feathered. Feathered means basically that it's completely smooth. So if I take my finger and rub it across the different layers, I can't feel a difference between them. If it's not completely smooth, the paint or primer will just chip again. This is another area I'm fixing. You can see it a little bit better in the sun. I'm going to sand this down and feather the edges. So our next step is to take a higher grain sandpaper and get those edges smooth. So I'm going to feather the edges, but I'm also going to sand down all the way to the metal and apply primer directly to the metal. Even though I'm just applying primer to the metal, I am going to paint the rest of the panel in order to try to prevent further chipping. So I'm going to scuff up the rest of the panel so that the paint sticks better. I've gone ahead and covered the area outside of the metal. That area will not be getting primer on it. You can see that a little bit of primer will get on the paint, but that's okay. I just use trash bags and electrical tape. I'll be using this Rust-Oleum sandable primer. I'm using the gray color because that's the closest to my car paint. If you look at the back, you can either dry sand or wet sand. I'm going to be dry sanding, and according to the instructions, after I spray the primer, I need to wait 2 to 4 hours before I sand it. Getting primer on evenly can be tricky. Here's a reference image so you can see what it should look like when you apply the primer. I don't want to shake this vigorously for about a minute before you use it, and here are some other tips that you need to keep in mind when you're applying the primer. Spray about 8 to 12 inches from the car and do a light coat only. You want to make sure you're spraying evenly and spraying as you move your hand. I'm going to do a little bit more up top. You can do 2 to 3 coats, but wait about 10 to 15 minutes between coats so that they dry. Make sure to clean off the nozzle when you're done. I applied 2 coats, and you can see right here that it's a little bit heavy. That's not exactly what you want it to look like, but that's okay. Since the primer is dry, I can go ahead and do a light sanding with 600 grit until it's even. Additionally, I'm going to get the rest of this ready, also by using 600. Just going to go up and down. We're not looking for anything scratchy, so you'll feel that at the end. Don't want it to have scratchy, but you do want to be able to see that you've sanded the area and see that there are some marks. As you're prepping the area to cover the paint, here's a trick. Take a toothpick or one of those plackers, and there's that weather stripping right here. You can push it in. It's much easier than using your finger to get it. I've scuffed this up with 600 grit, taken some alcohol, cleaned it off, and now I'm gonna spray it. I'm gonna apply the paint like I did the primer. Although my can is a little bit closer to the car, I can do 2 to 3 coats depending on how it looks, but you should wait 15 minutes between applying coats. I'm gonna go ahead and apply my second coat of paint right here. Keep in mind, you do not sand the paint layer. You only sand the primer layer. I'm gonna wait 20 to 30 minutes before applying the clear coat. The paint should look uniformly dull or matte before I apply it. This is my clear coat. The first thing you need to do is shake it for 2 minutes. Then after that, we're gonna activate it using this red cap. Going to take the cap off, take out this red piece, find this pin, and apply it here. Now you're gonna have to push pretty hard. And if you can't get it by hand, you can always use the ground to get it to go. I'm gonna close this while I do this so I don't accidentally spray it. Okay. Now, it pushed in. I felt it go in. You can see it right here. Here's a little bit better angle. You can see that I'm able to push it in, which means it is activated and ready to go. Here's my PPE. These are my goggles, and this is my mask respirator. Before you apply the clear coat, you want to make sure that it looks okay and is spraying evenly. So I'm going to test it in this cardboard box lid. All right, so I'm going to apply it now. I'm about 6 to 8 inches from the car, and I'm just going to do an even pass. Okay, I've waited about 10 minutes, and I'm going to apply the second coat. And now I'll let it cure. This is what we had before, and this is what it looks like after. Thanks for watching.